Hello and welcome to Light Conversations. I am so excited about our conversation today. Today I have Maila Salmaso, who is the founder of Pure Cacao Dream. She is an art conservator, restorer, and a cacao guardian. In this episode, we will be talking a lot more about the cacao side of things, and what Maila does. Maila is not only a guardian of cacao, but she is a beautiful light warrior and light worker. And I am so excited that she is here today on the first episode of 2023 of Light Conversations. So thank you, Maila, for joining me and everyone today. Can you give us a little bit of a brief introduction about yourself and also talk through a little bit about cacao, the food of the gods, as it's known as, and how Mama Cacao found you? Thanks.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much for calling me to start the year with this wonderful opportunity in speaking about cacao. Um, yeah, so cacao is a beautiful ally for the well-being. Um, um, is a very live and sparkling spirit, really. Cacao has found me. Uh, it was 2019 where I approached cacao um, like I needed an ally, I needed a help. Um, I was in a quite dark place, and then I was looking for light. And I went to my first ceremony, my first cacao ceremony, and it was like the experience and the feeling was like that the cacao was waiting for me that night at that ceremony. And as soon I drank cacao, and as soon we went in a meditation state, literally, we hang on, we hang on together. Um, and so I was able, straight after, I was able to listen her whispers, um, and so she became my guide.
Wow.
Uh,
And you've been working with her ever since?
um, yeah, and ever since, yeah, exactly, I've been working with her, and she literally sent me to in different countries. She sent me to travel,
Wow.
and yeah, and then in one of the first ceremonies, um, she she told me that I'm a cacao guardian, so that's why I say that I'm a cacao guardian,
Mm.
and it's not really something that I've decided. Is something, oh, everything that I do is something that I'm called to. So I'm following the messages, I'm following the guides. Um, and one of the most amazing whispers that I followed was to travel to Mexico. So in one of the ceremonies in 2020, the cacao literally told me that um, I need to get dirty my hands in her soil. So I
Mm.
literally needed to put my hands on the soil where cacao plants grow. So, and that's why there I decided to travel to Mexico.
You were told, by Mama Cacao that you were a guardian. This we say it because we have so much respect, right, for Mama Cacao, the cacao as a plant medicine. There's so much respect for this incredible ancient plant, um, and it's become quite a, I guess, a quite a, I want to say trend. It's got the name, cacao. You're hearing it a lot more over the last couple of years, right? But I love how, when you
Yeah.
experience cacao, you're like, she was like, you have to go and get your hands dirty. You have to go and get in there and be in the land, feel the soil, and
Yeah,
headed to Mexico. And then you said you went to several countries. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
right. So yeah, so this fact of the respect of the of the land, that's a very important point that you just mentioned, because I always felt like that sometimes, not really consciously, but in this part of the world, there is a kind of cultural appropriation about the cacao. And then that I think, and as a conservator, as an art conservator, I know very much about traditions and originality, the unique of the things, you know, like a masterpiece. A masterpiece was made with original materials, you know, with an original intention and original identity. And is no a case that she sent me to the land in order to absorb, see, and discover what is cacao in the land where it's grown, and that this permit me to meet cacao, to meet the people that work on the land, and to feel the energy, the cacao in their own in her own land. So my travel started with Mexico. I went to Mexico, and then there I did some volunteering on the cacao plantation. So where I actually got my my hand dirty from the soil. And from there, I crossed the country by land, and then I reached Guatemala. And there I visited. I haven't done any volunteering in Guatemala, but I visited few cacao plantations. And there I studied the cosmology, sorry, the Mayan cosmology.
Wow.
So this is another part of me. And then I studied it. I did a course that really, you know, to let drop the seed inside me, to let drop the cacao seed inside me, like, you know, to really embody the history and the ancient tradition of cacao as well. And then the last travel that I've done is Brazil. So we all know that cacao, the mainland the mainland of where the cacao is from is the ancient Mesoamerica. So when we speak about Mesoamerica, we meant the actual Central America, so Mexico, also Guatemala, and there are so many other countries where the cacao is from as well. And we don't know much about, or we less hear much about the other countries. So I went to Brazil, and then you know, in Brazil there is 60 or 70% of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil, and then we know that cacao plant is an Amazonian plant. And so I had the occasion to meet some farmers. I haven't really visited much cacao plantations, but I visited some farmers, and then I tried cacao from there. And then the cacao is really the native, they call it native cacao. And then this really, really different from the most common cacao that we know in this part of the world. So the criollo, or from Mexico, or from Guatemala, or from Ecuador, and this opened in my head, in my consciousness, something more important, that is actually the deforestation of the Amazon. Now in Brazil they are using the cacao plant and the cacao fruit, in order to restore the soil of the Amazon rainforest. And this is something very interesting.
Wow, that is interesting. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing that. And
Welcome.
the cacao itself, it's how long does it take for the cacao seed to grow? Is it quite a long process, is it, for the fruit to bear?
Yeah, yes, it's quite long. It takes around 5 years
Oh wow, 5 years.
from from the sprout of the cacao plant, in order to give the first fruits, it takes 5 years. And that another interesting things that I discovered in Brazil, that is that now, because the soil is so weak,
Mm.
because all the deforestation and the abuse of the land, cacao plants start to die at the age of 2. So that's why they are restoring the soil with the cacao fruit, because it's very full of vitamins and minerals,
Mm.
that they literally so rich that it can literally restore the nutritional elements on the soil.
Wow. So what is it that they're planting into the soil of the deforestation areas uh, for it to restore?
Well, they use the pod, so the cacao seeds. The cacao is made with the seeds.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the cacao farmers collect the seeds from the pods, and they cut all the pods, and they basically they put the pods on the soil.
And that itself is what helps to restore it.
Yeah.
I love how this weaves also your work for the last however many years. I know you as a art conservator restorer, and how
Six, yeah,
it's 6 years
16
of
years.
16 years. Wow. And you know, at first glance, it doesn't seem like the two already are well relevant. You know, art conservator restorer and cacao guardian. But when you talk about it and seeing how they weave together, and you know, as you mentioned at the beginning, when you were when you went to well, Mama Cacao said you've got go to the land, be part of the land, and see how it's created, and as through your eyes as a restorer, seeing that level of that tradition you mentioned, and like a
Mhm.
masterpiece, through to the kind of the cacao being restorative to the earth itself.
Mm.
That's really interesting. And also what kind of came through when you were talking was 5 years of growth of it takes for this from shoot to plant to fruit, shoot to fruit. um,
Yeah.
yeah, I knew pineapples took a long time, 18 months to 22 months or 24 months. I think avocados take a long time, and I don't quite know the details of the avocado, but I know pineapples. But wow, cacao is what a lesson for us as well as human beings, right? We want everything so quickly, especially in today's society
Yeah,
and culture. And what a beautiful lesson that, you know,
that's true.
it's underneath the soil. There's all this work that's going on and all this, and to blossom into this beautiful fruit, it takes time and patience.
Yeah,
I know I'm
time
guilty
and patience.
of not
But
having enough.
it's also very interesting that cacao, the cacao plant is an evergreen plant that is
Mhm,
from just checking, the Malvasia family.
mhm,
So it's an evergreen, and you can feel, you can think, yeah, it's very strong. As an
mhm,
evergreen plant, is very
mhm,
strong. But actually, the cacao plants need so many other plants around her, and much bigger than her, because she needs protection from the sunlight. Otherwise, she's gonna burn very quickly, especially if young. If it's a mother plant, there is no much. She's not very weak. So if she is a mother plant, so is a very old plant. She's very strong. But a younger plant needs very much attention and protection
and
from the
protection.
other plants, surrounded by the other plants.
Isn't that
So that's
beautiful?
very, normally it's covered by mangoes plants. Yeah, it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating to see the reality of the plants in the land, on the land. And then I think that's the most important point of the cacao. The cacao whispers to me, to not just take the cacao as it is here and from what people said about, even if very, you know, very knowledge people and expert people. I'm not saying that, but the mission is, for me, was and is still really to go to the land of cacao, whatever the land is in the world, and then discover by myself the reality of, the reality and the truth of cacao.
And before we go into that piece around going to the land, a little bit more about the land and the benefits of cacao as well, and how it was used maybe traditionally, just going back to what you were saying about this protection, nature being a collaborative, you know, the cacao needs, in order to survive and thrive, it needs the protection of the mangoes and the other other trees and
Other plants.
life, other plants. And you know, we have been brought up, and again in our culture, to think of nature as being, you know, in the Darwinian way, right? Which kind of makes me kind of laugh, because it's so not true in so many ways. It's competitive, it's, you know, fighting, and we just see, you know, we're sort of, the media kind of always gives us these views of how, you know, you see the shots, these beautiful documentaries. I'm not saying they're not beautiful, but you know, they're all attacking, and it's all about surviving and killing each other. But what nature is saying is, actually, look back, and you can see this in our own gardens. And I love how cacao demonstrates this with such grace, is that they need to help each other, they support each other, they protect each other, the plants, and nature protects each other and supports each other. You need certain insects as well, right, in order to support that growth, and that, I just find that really, really beautiful. So yeah, again, thank you for sharing that. I think that's really lovely to know, and yeah, helps us to kind of understand mother cacao and her plant medicine a little bit deeper. So
you just, sorry, I have to interrupt you because you just mentioned the insect. So now it's not on top of my head the name, unfortunately, but there is only one insect that can impollinate the flower of cacao. So the flower of cacao is very small. It's like the nail, fingernail wide. So you can imagine the insect that has to impollinate the flower has to be very, very, very tiny, and very tiny. So again, is very meticulous. The plant of the cacao is very meticulous, and then also the surviving of this little insect, that they are the only one that can impollinate cacao.
Oh wow!
Is very, it's very, again, fascinating. I use this word again. Is very fascinating. So yeah.
What were the traditional practices around cacao? How would it be used originally?
Well, so I was in Mexico, on the area of on the region of Tabasco, so the area of Comalcalco, and normally on the farm, the cacao, the duty, okay, so the farmers, so normally men work on the farm, and the female work, women work with the seeds. And this is something very clear that always happened, not just in Mexico, but also in Guatemala. Only that there is this tradition that only the women can touch and can touch the seeds, and manage the quality of the seeds, and etc. But traditionally, historically, cacao was a beverage, was a drink for only for the rich people, kind of for the people on top of the hierarchy, right? And cacao was used for celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And women were not much allowed to drink it, so mostly were men drinking cacao. It was largely used for celebration, rituals, and also mostly because it actually is an excellent aphrodisiac. So as an aphrodisiac food in Mexico was also largely used for it, because historically, as far as I know, I mean, for what I read, is that the men normally they had multiple partners. So yeah, they were drinking a lot of cacao. That's something funny that I read in
That is
articles.
funny.
Yeah, but mostly for celebrations. Yeah,
Mm.
cacao was used for celebrations.
I mean, it's an incredible, has so many different benefits, but minerals, hence it's been used to restore deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. It has, what's one of the main, I guess, benefits or main vitamins, would you say, that the cacao has?
Right. So biologically speaking, cacao it got very high percentage of magnesium. So,
Okay.
and we know that magnesium rules the body in a very high way. But also is a superfood. So is considered the sister of the coffee plant. And so it's a stimulant. It's a superfood. It is a stimulant. And then cacao has got naturally some very amazing molecules that they are natural antidepressants. So cacao works directly with the dopamine, serotonin, and then it contains anandamine, that is the bliss molecule, the well-known bliss molecule. So it works directly with the mood, and really it lifts up naturally as an antidepressant. But most important, that is connected with the body, is connected with the biological aspect behind the cacao, is that I forgot to mention before. So the gods gifted to the indigenous the seeds, because the human being, they were disconnected with Mother Earth. So, and the myth said that the gods gifted the cacao seed to the indigenous in order to again restore and find again the harmony between human beings and Mother Earth. And in fact, what I experienced myself straight after the first or the second cup of cacao is that I could have a completely different awareness about my body that was not just on the mind. Yes, I'm a body, but I could feel and listen to my body in a very different way. And since this just completely is an ongoing transformation, keep drinking cacao, and then the relationship with cacao is just it never is also always in progress. It's always opening, little aspect, little angles, I would like to say, of the body that you didn't know. So yeah, it really connects you with yourself, firstly, in a different way, and with a deeper awareness, and then it cacao connects you with Mother Earth and the nature in even more deeper way than before.
Beautiful, which may be why as well, why it's coming into our awareness and consciousness a lot more these days. I feel like the gods have come back to us and said, because right now we are at a time where we are very much in our heads and disconnected from our bodies, right? We do live in that time. And I know I was in that situation several years ago, when I was so in my head, so in my masculine as well, when I was in the corporate world. And I feel like maybe the gods are now going, okay, time for some cacao, everybody. We need to get you back into your body and connect with yourself and Mother Earth, because it's so true that we do live a lot in our heads, and that connection. And I've been drinking cacao for a couple of years now on a daily basis. The beautiful cacao that you do supply, which is incredible. And it is, and we'll talk about that in a moment, the ceremonial cacao versus the cacao that you can buy in the shops. So, our heart center electromagnetically is 50 times stronger than that of our head bones. At 50, so it could be 500 actually. Again, my math isn't really working today. But if it's
numbers,
the magnetic field of our heart field, we forget that the strength and power of it. I mean, I do, as you know, I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher as well. So, we often we're working with the Kundalini, not just the rise of it, because the rise, again, we don't want to just be in our heads. It's not the masculine, we want to be in the body. We are human beings here having a physical experience. So being in the body and using the body as the instrument that it is for us to create our lives, right? To create the world, this manifest what we want to be manifesting in the world. So we have that rise and fall of the Kundalini, but we have a micro orbit of the heart as well, which goes to when we're doing our asanas and breath work or pranayama, and then we are creating that. It's like a up and down, but also left and right, which looks a bit like a cross if you think about it. And this comes from the Reiki cross, which came before any religious, aspects of cross was even thought of. The Reiki cross is that figure. So I feel like all these beautiful ancient practices now are coming to our awareness and remind us we need to reconnect with ourselves, with Lady Gaia, their Mother Earth, and remember why we're here.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
And we were just talking about the masculine and the feminine. I'd really be interested to hear your understanding, your take on Mama Cacao. And I've heard from others that some cacao medicine might be seen as more feminine or some more masculine. What's your take on that or understanding of that?
My understanding about is just feelings. Like, so the cacao plant is a female plant. So that's why I guess we tend to call her Mama Cacao, but also being a medicine, a plant medicine that is called as an heart opener. So what's really is embedded in the heart is really a female energy, a divine feminine energy, also divine masculine, but it's more like the emotions, the heart, the relax, the allowing. Is more as a feminine. I drank a lot of different cacaos because this is part of my never-ending project and discovering. And then I can tell you that I can find different energy in different cacaos. And then especially in some from Mexico, same area that I visited, this cacao is from another farm, still in Comalcalco. And then there I can feel a very strong masculine energy. And also the taste is much more earthy, like rather than nutty taste. Earthy, masculine energy, grounding. I think the cacao somehow create us a thread, a direct connection with the farmers. Because meeting the farmers, visiting the lands and meeting the farmers, drinking their own cacao, I could feeling a kind of an overall energy that comes from, you know, the piece of land, the farmers, and the making, the cacao making. Yeah, I don't know if this makes sense. It just landed here.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense to me. As soon as you were saying that, I thought, oh yes, I see that connection. I can feel that. Why you would see that connection of that to the farmers, and maybe that's the divine masculine and the divine feminine in motion, the action of the farmers. It is, you know, when we're talking about, and just for those maybe listening to the conversation who might not be so familiar with our work, when we talk about divine, you know, the feminine and masculine, we're talking about energies, is not nothing to do with gender. This is energies, and they exist within all of us. We have the divine feminine and divine masculine.
Exactly.
And when I was talking about the kind of being in our heads and being, you know, which is, you know, sometimes we need to be, and that I feel as the masculine, in our analytical masculine. We need that when we cross the road, for example. We don't want to be just in our hearts.
The action.
We need to look left and right, make sure you don't get run over by a car. You know, we have to have that balance, but it is about balance. And I think you said it beautifully, the divine feminine energy of the heart space. And in this change and age of Aquarius that's been coming in, and as we shift from the patriarchy into this balance, we're not saying one is better, one will be, we are saying it has to be in balance, because at the moment we are living in, I would say, a more toxic or disempowered masculine in many ways. You know, we're not even living in the divine masculine. Yeah, it's where we become so controlling over things, where we're thinking in the scarcity and lack, and we are just busy without taking a moment to connect with the heart space, connect with our bodies. We're very discombobulated, you know, when we're disconnected from our body, and we just can't work, you know, we can't stop because we're kind of spinning on our axis. So so it's cacao is offering that kind of that balance of the divine, and you know, there's a disempowered feminine as well. We can be people pleasing, right? We can be overly giving. We can lack boundaries, and there's a lot of, so it's empowered masculine, empowered masculine, empowered feminine in balance. And I think, as you beautifully said, that is what Mama Cacao, or the cacao, the plant medicine, offers us again, and connection.
Yeah, definitely is part of her mission. Yeah. Definitely, yes.
And you when you were talking about the ingredients, I think did you mention, it's the antioxidant as well? It's a superfood, isn't it? As a
yeah, I didn't mention.
Yeah, I know we mentioned when we talked about it before in our rehearsal. We talked about it being superfood, and it's has, you know, like you said, it works with our bodies. You know, the magnesium that we need. Magnesium is really important for metabolizing, for women in particular, through our parathyroid gland. Magnesium and calcium is metabolized to help create a healthy, strong bone structure.
Right.
And I didn't realize that there was that much magnesium. I mean, that's incredible, and that's so useful for our bodies.
Yeah, we are ruled by magnesium in our body. If we got lack of magnesium, there are a lot of little issues manifesting.
Yeah, lots of issues.
It's very essential. is a very essential mineral, actually. Yeah, and then yeah, you're absolutely right. Cacao also contains a lot of antioxidants, and that's very surprising. That the antioxidants are very good for the skin. So, for example, cacao butter for the skin is very precious. And what I read in a book is that the antioxidants in the cacao are 3 times much more than the green tea and the red wine. So that was very like wow for me, because you know, we know green tea that is very important, and it is very good because it's very full of antioxidants. It's very rich in antioxidants, and I discovered now that cacao got more antioxidants than green tea, and I will say, oh wow, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's very surprising. So cacao is really is rich on very so many ingredients, if we want to call them, or elements, so many elements, and is rich in vitamin E as well. The cacao butter contains vitamin E a lot. So when I say cacao butter is the good liquid part, the fat, the good fat part of the cacao, and also it contains some linoleic omega-6 and linoleic omega-3. So it's another very interesting. Those are other 2 very interesting elements.
And it's vegan. It's, you know, it's, isn't it? So
it's totally, yeah. We are speaking about, yeah, you mentioned before about ceremonial cacao. So we are speaking about ceremonial cacao. Ceremonial cacao, it comes straight from the cacao beans. So it's not about, we are not talking about industrialized and commercial chocolate that is made by big businesses worldwide. So we are speaking about seeds grounded together and making, and the cacao paste. So that's what it is, ceremonial cacao, when the cacao itself is not, the elements of the cacao is not separated, chemically separated in itself. I rephrase. Cacao, it can be understood as a combination of 2 elements: the solid part of cacao, so the cacao powder, and the liquid and goody fat, that is the cacao butter. Those 2 things are completely in harmony together in the ceremonial cacao and in cacao paste. So what actually happened with the industrialized commercial cacao is that the solid part, so the cacao powder, is chemically separated and extracted from the cacao butter. And there is where the cacao is abused, the cacao is destroyed, and no any, and it doesn't have any more the good properties of the cacao, because when you intake the cacao, you can absorb these properties when the solid part is mixed with the liquid part, so the butter.
Yeah, so the paste that the ceremonial paste that you talk about is that it's like a, you know, we get, have you got any of them next to you? I just should have asked you before at the beginning. Do you have to show a chunk of it?
Yeah, I have some.
So this is a chunk of, ooh.
This is a little chunk of Mexican cacao. This is actually some that I import from Mexico. And this is actually literally from where the farm that I mentioned before, in Comalcalco.
That's from the
Yeah,
farm, that, or is it? Oh wow.
yeah. They are. Yeah, the farm is run by a woman, and and it's a women collective that they work in the farm. Yeah, so this is the chunk, but you can find very different type of chunks. This is just a little tablitas. So yeah.
But
And I
but
actually
you
have
call
some
that a
cacao
paste,
seeds.
don't you? You call that
This
paste.
is this is cacao. Okay. Generally speaking, people like to call it in this part of the world cacao liqueur as well.
Ah,
So yeah, I found these terms quite a lot. Cacao liqueur. I like it to call it cacao mass because it's a mass of it's a mass of beans
mass,
basically.
MASS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cacao mass, but also cacao paste. The is a cacao paste. So when the beans are grounded together and make cacao
Mm, delicious. So
paste.
yes, it's got the butter, the cacao butter, which is is from the cacao. It's not anything to do with animals or anything. It's from the plant itself and from
Yeah,
the bean
exactly.
itself. And I know
Rather than
you've sent that to me before, and it is absolutely gorgeous. So I didn't realize that's the one that's full of vitamin E, which is great for the skin, isn't it?
for the skin. Yeah, for the skin. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
And it contains, and what I thought, remember when you shared with me before, when you said it contains caffeine, but it's not, it has something called thermobromine. Is it thermobromine? Am I saying
Yeah,
it right?
exactly.
Which isn't,
Yes.
which is different to how caffeine works.
Yeah, so cacao being a stimulant food, a superfood, but it being a stimulant. So is considered the sister of coffee. Coffee contains mostly caffeine. Cacao contains mostly theobromine. It's also true that cacao contains a zero, normally overall, an average is like, it contains a 0.2 percentage of caffeine. Cacao naturally contains a tiny percentage of caffeine, but the theobromine is much more. So that's why cacao is also considered a slow food rather than the caffeine. So when you intake cacao, you don't feel the crash down of energy that most of the time you can experience. You can experience it with the coffee, with the caffeine.
Yeah.
So caffeine interact with your nervous system, basically in the body biologically. Caffeine interact with the nervous system rather than cacao just increase your blood flow.
Mm.
So it is increasing in the blood flow it does oxygenate your body, and that's why we call it as a heart opener,
Mm.
because increasing the blood flow oxygenate the body. You can feel this chest area with, of course, with our heart, it expands. So that's why that's actually why it's considered a heart opening medicine. So
Right.
the point is that it's not just a hoo medicine, used by shamans and working with spirits. That actually is real, but the biological aspect behind in the cacao is actually what interlink the spiritual aspect. So, and that is what fascinated me when first I met cacao, because I was drawn to cacao because I was depressed, and then I was really looking for something alternative. I didn't want to use medication anymore because it was just I wasn't feeling it wasn't feeling right for me. It was not in my alignment. And then then I discovered cacao, and then straight after I read something, and then I understood, oh wow, cacao, it can help for depression. So not just because there is someone that makes ceremonies, not because you can just go in a very deep meditation state, but it's actually biologically, chemically itself, it helps for it. So that was my decision.
Amazing.
And yeah, that's a very important thing as well.
Amazing. Yeah. I think that whole, again, bringing it back to the elements within it, that this is a plant of the earth that we inhabit. Our physical bodies are made of the similar elements, and it works in harmony with us. It supports us. It is natural. And the fact that you said it helps support mood, gets us into that bliss state. It naturally, chemically or elementally expands the heart through oxygenating through our body, and it's got vitamin E, magnesium, all these amazing things that enable us to, works with our natural bodies. And the caffeine thing, I think it's so interesting that you bring up that point around the caffeine, that it doesn't come, you don't have a crash that caffeine has. I mean, I've completely reduced my caffeine intake from since drinking cacao, and I feel like it doesn't have the, when you say caffeine works with the nervous system, it doesn't give you that anxiety that caffeine brings. I can't, I haven't drunk coffee for a long, long time. Personally, it didn't agree with my body. It would often make me feel very anxious. And yeah, and it doesn't have those side effects, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Oh, this is so amazing, that understanding, from you, what this, it really is, this gift of the gods, or food of the gods, that the Aztecs would call it, right? The ancients would call.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you mentioned it as it helps with our mental health and our personal growth. It's kind of also like a healer in itself. It supports the healing aspects of our own healer aspects within each and every one. We're all healers. We've all got that ability, but it just helps us with that transformation that you mentioned. Is there anything else that you would like to add to that? How have you, on your own journey, you mentioned about depression and no longer, it's really kind of helped you heal in that aspect of your personal growth?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a great support for depression. I cannot say that you're not going to be if you drink cacao, it's not that depression will disappear. It just is a great support. Yeah, it's a great support that you can literally fight depression in a very short time, I guess, from my experience, rather than taking medication. It's straight after. It's straightforward. But yeah, it's not just the only thing. I mean, cacao increases very much your creativity as well. If you can connect with cacao, increase so much the creativity, and then again, the connection with the nature. I really find on my own experience a very much deeper connection with the nature. Just having a walk in the woods with the cacao, I can feel the air very much more than before. And yeah, I will always say that cacao was the warmest hug in a very cold cage, in a very cold cave, not cage, in a very cold cave, and the most luminous light in a very dark place. So yeah, so I'm very grateful that cacao met me, and then thankful and grateful for myself to listen as well, the messages, because sometimes we got messages that we don't really pay much attention on, only because the ego, or because we don't believe, or the mind. I think we have
or
to
being busy,
thanks
busy, busy.
ourselves
Yeah.
as well. Busy, workaholic, and yeah. But we also have to thanks ourselves in order, in order to thanks ourselves for listening, for allowing ourselves to listen to the messages. Yeah. And then a little tip that I want to give to people that are listening is to not take cacao with any dairy product, because somehow the dairy product screen the body, and then the body is unable to absorb the good properties from cacao. So never take cacao with dairy products, please.
Right, that's a really important point. Yes, thank you for that tip. So if you want to drink it, you could use alternative.
Alternative milk, like dairy free.
Yeah, I use
Dairy
oat
free.
milk, for example. I use that. I know you drink it pure water,
Yeah.
but you
I
could
was
try.
initiated. I was initiated with cacao with only water, and then actually I tried myself to mix it with dairy-free milks, but I don't like the taste, so that's why I just keep in using water. Yeah.
And anything else? Would you? I know there are people who put little, add things. I add cinnamon, like true cinnamon from Sri Lanka, and a little bit of cayenne pepper and salt,
Mm-hmm.
some sea salt. Is there anything else that you could recommend to people to try?
Um, Personally, I don't use much things added to cacao. I know that cayenne pepper, it increase the
Absorption.
the absorption. Thank you so much of cacao. And then I had a period of time that I was drinking with cayenne pepper. Is nice. Um, but no, no. Rather than pure cacao, I did sometimes I use it in smoothies. Yeah.
Okay.
But and actually, yeah, this winter I tried a new a new recipe. I mix it with dates and tahini.
Ooh,
So yeah, not it has not been used in a ceremonial in a sacred
mm,
space. Has been used as a cacao beverage.
yum! Taste sounds great.
Like a hot chocolate, like a special brew. I call it special brew, cacao special brew. And
Mm,
then yeah, mix it with dates, tahini,
tahini.
and and a drop of oat milk.
And is that as a
That
smoothie
was very nice.
or a
Yeah,
hot
very
drink?
creamy.
Mm,
Actually, hot drink.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down. I will try that because it sounds delicious. Dates, tahini,
Yeah.
especially in January when we kind of want it. That definitely sounds like a warm hug in a cup.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Tahini,
Definitely.
oats, sorry, dates, tahini, and some oat milk and cacao.
Yeah, and cacao. But of course, yeah, just a bit of oat milk,
A
always
bit.
cacao on water. Yeah.
Or almond water.
Hmm.
Just, I know we haven't got a long left, but I'd love you to talk a little bit through the more shamanic experience of it. I know you touched upon it earlier, but we talked about the very physical, the very, the benefits of it, um, the elements and that side of it. But
Mm.
how is cacao then used in shamanic or for shamanic purposes or ceremonial purposes?
Okay. um, oh, well, cacao is used in ceremonies um, in order to connect with cacao and create this alignment and realign yourself, and also to discover cacao itself as a spirit, and create this relationship that cacao does as a guide, as an ally in your day lifetime. If we look at the practical part of the cacao ceremonies, it's like is the dose of cacao that you intake. So normally in cacao ceremonies you intake between, it depends, there are different schools of it, but it's from the 40 grams, 42 grams up to 50. I know some people that drinks up to 50 grams, rather than as a daily intake. If someone wants to drink cacao instead of coffee, normally the intake is around between 15 and 25 grams daily. So just to give by numbers an idea of the difference of the cacao.
Would you say that's more like a tablespoon?
In a ceremonial. I would like maybe a tablespoon for the daily intake. Maybe there are up to 3 tablespoons or a bit more for the ceremonial dose. Yeah. And normally in cacao ceremonies, cacao help you to reach a very calm and relaxed and deep state of the meditation, and mix it with the space holder to create the sacred space where you can navigate safely in the journey. You can connect directly with the spirit of the plant, and so you can receive any messages or advice that you need at that moment, in the present moment. And cacao ceremonies are the most there are very cacao ceremonies. So there are cacao ceremonies that help you to connect with the plant, directly with the plant, but you can also go to cacao ceremonies that is just under meditation, help with the cacao as an ally on your side. Nowadays, cacao ceremonies are made also with a sound bath, so you can enjoy the music and not the music, the vibration of the sound in your body in a state relaxed with the cacao in your body as well. There are different types of cacao ceremonies nowadays. Personally, I started to hold the cacao, I would like to say meditations first, on my first stage, that I quite like, and now I'm holding more cacao ceremonies where you can meet the plant spirit of the cacao. So just basically holding space for people to really receive what cacao has to say to them. But I really enjoy to do cacao meditations as well. I think is very great, because she really, when you connect with her, she sat on your side, and then you just have an ally, and you have a companion to journey with. It is very beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the shaman mostly is just, with the cacao ceremony, the shaman is creating a sacred space and a safe space for the people to journey with cacao. So literally, normally the shaman is just a channel. It's just channeling some energy, allowing the cacao energy to go in a safe space and connect with people. But mostly it's the cacao. It's just the cacao that works. It's just her. We facilitate a space. We give the plant medicine. We give the cacao, but all the work is made by cacao. It's not really any facilitator. The facilitator is just creating a safe space, and a safe space, allowing the energy to flow in a sacred space. But the rest is just made by cacao.
Would you say it's like a co-creation between the person who is drinking the cacao and the spirit of cacao? Is that co-creation between the two in that, and then the facilitator, the shaman, or whoever's holding that sacred space is holding that protected sacred space for everyone to have that beautiful experience in themselves.
Yeah, exactly that.
In the work that you do, I know you have create women's circles, work with women and cacao. Maybe if you want to share a little bit about that and how you co-create with cacao in that way, or whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah, thank you for it. I was almost forgetting. So what I'm facilitating actually is called Gather the Women. And so those are women's circles that actually I would like to open these circles for male as well. I have to find a way, because the program was born only for women. So now I just carry on with that, but let's see how things will transform during the year. So Gather the Women is 22 days of self-discovering on the three aspects of the self. So the girl that we used to be, the women that we are now, and the women yet to become. And we drink cacao daily. So this is also a self-discovering with cacao. And cacao helps us not only emotionally, but also on our own self-conscious and awareness in going deep with those three elements of the self. It's an amazing experience because it's literally like we travel in three different level of dimensions, but we actually always be in the present moment. I have to go deep in this. I think someone call it quantum leap journey or something like that. I'm not very, I'm not very expert in these terms, in these specific terms, but it's something that I will. And the cacao is truly amazing because you journey in these dimensions, and the cacao keeps you aligned and grounded. So it's literally so clear what you are experiencing, and the releasing, whatever in life, we all have something to release, our past experience, the nowadays experiences. So cacao is a great releaser, especially emotionally, and it helps a lot in also to understand emotions that maybe in the past you couldn't understand, and nowadays you can. So Yeah. So during the year, I will, and I'm facilitating this journey, and that is 22 days, a 22 days self-discovery journey for women. And then I decided to facilitate this program because I myself first experienced this program, and not only one time. And it really, and for me, has been a very massive transformational program in every terms, really, in every terms of self-awareness, in self-discovering, especially. I heal child wound that I wasn't not even imagining that I could heal. And it opened up myself in connecting with women, and that is a very particular thing. And this program given me back the trust in other women, and that literally the collaboration, the connection, the faith, the trust, and exist between women. And yeah, and the people for you are out there. So maybe we are not for everyone, but we are for sure for someone. So it's just the main point is just to find your tribe, to find your people, and try with them, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And shine your light, your beacon of light, so that they can find you. And if you're watching this and this resonates, I will include Maila's details. And I know you've got your Gather the Women coming. There's one coming up soon, so I'll make sure we include that. And yeah, enjoy and start. If you're looking to start your cacao journey as well, you can always follow Maila on Instagram. On what's your Instagram handle? Is it
Pure Cacao Dream? Yeah.
Pure Cacao
And actually
Dream.
my website is live. Yay!
Yay! And I'll
So you can
include
find
all your
me
details. I'll put the links for at the end of the on the YouTube video as well as on the post, so we can share that as well. But like you said, when women gather, when women come together, it is very powerful. It is very
something. I don't know what was that. Yes, it's powerful.
Okay, it's time. So when women gather, we come together. It is a co-creation, a powerful co-creation, and like you say, I think we all have very deep wounds and whether it's from childhood or past incarnations of women with women. It hasn't always been easy, and it's now time for us to kind of come together and really, not be competing against each other. We have, that's the patriarchy has unfortunately enabled that a lot. And when we start remembering each other and how supportive we are to one another, it's so beautiful. And like you said, the quantum leaping work that you're saying within that, yes, we are multidimensional beings, and to be able to clear that on in that space is just beautiful. When we clear our inner child wounds, gosh, our present is so much more powerful, and what we can manifest and create from the now once we've cleared that. And I know what you say, when it's things that we think that we can't are almost feel impossible to clear, can be cleared. And we do that ourselves as and people like Maila and myself, we facilitate that within the people we work with. And may everyone find the people that they want to work with. I often say to people, if I don't resonate with you as a coach, as a mentor, as a Kundalini yoga teacher, as a healer, I know people who can, who will resonate.
Yeah,
like you say, we're not for everyone. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And that's cool.
I'm not a pizza.
And you're not
I cannot be liked by everyone. Not a pizza.
I love that because Maila is Italian as well, so
Yeah.
she's not everyone, not a pizza, but yeah, we know pizzas and other teas and pizzas that can resonate. So we will know people who will work with you. Is there anything else that you would like to share, Maila? I don't think I kept to my question list at all. I think it was beautiful. We just flowed with wherever
We did.
I wanted to lead us.
What I want to share. If you never try cacao, give a try with the cacao a try. Yeah. I think it's very important to not just listen what people said, the other experiences, but it's very important to experience yourself in order to understand what is cacao and what cacao can help with you, because every journey is different. It's very individual. The journey with cacao is pretty much individual, and it's the cacao that collaborates with you and you with cacao. So that's the beauty and the magic in it.
Beautiful.
And you are the medicine. You are the medicine.
Lovely. Yes, you are the medicine. And what would you say for those, you obviously sell cacao that comes from the farmers. You are, I think there's only between you, when you buy it from the shops, I guess you don't know where it's coming from exactly, right? You might know, there's lots of people in between, right?
Yeah,
what would you say
middleman.
to people who are looking to ceremonial cacao is more of an investment? Yes, it does cost more, but actually I worked it out because I've been drinking it daily for 2 years now. And if you go to a coffee chain, for example, you're spending that, buying a cup of coffee a day from from one of the chains, or two maybe. It works out actually your investment for your cacao is a lot. is less, but also it's a lot purer, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah. So normally who sells ceremonial cacao, they know the farmer where cacao is from. So I think that's very important. Something that we didn't mention is also that there are so many different varieties of cacao, and the variety I mean different seeds. So, for example, in Ecuador there is Fino de Aroma, the Fino de Aroma variety, rather than Guatemala mostly is Criollo, and rather than in Mexico there are Criollo, Forastero, and another one, and Trinitario, and they used to use the blend. So the taste and the flavor that you can experience is the fear of the variety. And that's something interesting. So that's why I think if you like cacao, try different type of cacao. Don't limit yourself in just stay with one. And also every cacao gives you a different energy. And then I do import cacao from Central America, and then I don't drink just my cacao because I really need other cacao sometimes, because it gives me different energies and also the flavors. Sometimes I'm not fancy the flavor that I'm selling. I fancy something else. And the week after, I just drink mine because it's really what I wanted. But I think the source, I think the source is very important.
Yeah.
And there is no competition with cacao, because cacao is different in every country, and also in the land. If the cacao is in a farm with more bananas plants, the taste will be the fear from the neighbor land that they have coffee plants and the mangoes plants around the cacao. So again, don't limit yourself and explore cacao as broad as it is, because you can be very surprised by it. About the prices, so as I said, it's very important, the source. And when you collaborate, you work directly with the farms, it's very important to pay the fair trade, the fair price for it. And so rather than, rather than industrialized companies, very commercial companies, that they don't, especially companies that collaborate with cacao grown in Africa, in the Africa country. And that's a reality. It's a reality that, I have to explore more. But it's not good. It's not nice at all. So the price is true. Sometimes the price can seem high, but it's actually what the farmers will receive. And nowadays, there is also the export, right? The shipping. Now, this is something very real that is rising, is increasing as crazy. But the fair trade is the main point, and the main point is to pay a fair price, the families and the collective that they work directly with the cacao. That's the main point.
Yeah, cacao is going to the farmers, to the family, to the, that where it's going, and I think that's important.
Yeah, I don't know everyone experiences, but my experience is that I don't have middlemen. I traveled and then I met farmers, and then I visited the farms, and then I felt this connection that I want to import their product because I love them so much in terms of their passion, their tradition, that they put in the land, that I really want to let people in this part of the world know their product. And so that's actually what happened to me. And if I want to expand my cacao importation, I know that I will travel and then I will find a farm and then I will work directly with them instead than deal with a middleman and find the cacao that maybe is super good as well. But for me, the important thing is that I have to know the source, so I can see with my eyes the reality there, and then I know how much the tradition and the passion is implied in the working with the land. Because also know that the farmers that I'm collaborating with, they are very involved in the keeping the earth safe. So they are not using chemicals. And the Mexican collective that I'm working with now is connected with the rainforest, the Mexican rainforest as well. So I know that they also improve themselves always, every year after year. They do courses in agroforest, in improving how they can work with the soil, with the earth. So I also stand for this, for a full awareness in how we work with the earth, basically, and their fruit and her fruit.
Yeah, without any toxins coming into it, and as well. And I think that's why I love, your cacao so much, is that I know there is, exactly where it's coming from. You've met these people, and I think it's when you said about that they work on the land, but these people who work on the land, they also, when they work, they have that intention. They have such pure, beautiful intentions, and we know you and I, and hopefully the people listening to this show will
dedication.
Dedication understands that when we set intentions to something, to the work we do, the land that we are growing on, and we, you know, we know what that the how things grow. You know, we talk about that through our manifestations in the, you know, when we're manifesting our dreams, but when we're talking about flowers and plants and the earth, we know how things thrive when we talk to them with love, right? You know, there's the famous Dr. Emoto water experiments that were done, right, by the Japanese scientist, Dr. Emoto, and how the crystals of water and how that when beautiful, loving words, and we put that positive intention on things, and what happens to those beautiful crystalline features. It's incredible versus negative, or, you know. Anyway, it's so beautiful talking to you, and thank you, Maila. And you've reminded me now, I probably need to expand on change it up a little bit, because I think I've been, I stick to quite one. I know I've had the Mexican and the Guatemalan, and I know I love my Guatemalan, so it reminded me to change it up, because it does taste different. You're so right. It does feel different, and they have different energies coming through. So that's, you know, I will make a conscious effort to shift how, you know, the different, maybe a new variety. We can talk about that another time.
We will.
Give some advice. And and thank you so much for sharing this, you know, beautiful the work that you do, and helping the farmers and spreading the love of cacao to us. Any other last words of wisdom? Thank you.
Shine the light.
Shine your light. Oh, lots of love to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for calling me. Thank you. That's a very, very great starting of the new year.
Hey. And everyone who's watching, all of Maila's contact details and her Instagram, her social media handles and website details will be shared. So explore, like you said, explore Maila, explore different other people as well, and just, really understand where your cacao is coming from, and start a new practice. Why not? I never thought I'd be doing it for 2 years. I didn't think it would become a daily thing, but it's one of my really important go-to technologies, I would say, on a daily basis that I would use. So go and explore it. Have fun with it. Sending everyone so much love, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you, Maila, again.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.